In early August of 2005, I found myself a newly single mother with two young daughters, Layla, who was 3.5, and Shelby, who was just 4 months old. Having split from my ex husband and without a lot of resources, the girls and I moved in with their great grandparents the day before Katrina was expected to make landfall. Their home was in D'Iberville, Mississippi, right on the back bay of Biloxi, and everyone swore it would be safe and there was no need to evacuate since the property didn't flood during Hurricane Camille. But the morning the storm hit, I looked outside and saw water from the bay creeping into the backyard. I can't recall exact times or how long it took for the water to make its way inside the house because when I think about it, it feels like it happened in an instant, but also like it took an eternity. I remember having coffee and making breakfast with Mima, getting the girls up and feeding them, and only being a little anxious about the storm that was making its way to our part of the coast. Along with the girls, myself, and their great grandparents was an aunt and uncle who lived close by and decided to hunker down with us. Another uncle lived in an apartment over a garage on the property as well. I felt confident that my babies and I would be okay. All three of these men were lifelong Boy Scouts, so surely we were in good hands. As time went on, we all kept checking the water levels outside and hoped it wouldn't make its way in, but eventually it did. Time really became a blur once the water started seeping into the house. We had a slight advantage since the house was built on a raised slab. I tried my absolute best and for the most part succeeded to stay as calm as possible for my babies. I'll never forget giggling with Layla about how the water was tickling Shelby's toes as she sat and played in her walker. As the water continued to rise, we scrambled to get keepsakes, valuables, and anything else of importance to closet shelves and up into the attic. I filled a few 30-gallon trash bags with food and formula for the girls, some clothes, a few toys, and other essentials. The water kept rising, and we knew we had to move as fast as we could to get up to the apartment above the garage. There was no way to know how high the water would go. I stood at the front door and watched as Uncle David and Uncle Mike carried my babies, wading through 4 feet of water to safety. I followed right behind them, absolutely terrified. I recall counting bricks on the house right below a window to keep track of how high the water was and when it started to recede. We huddled together in that apartment, listening to the wind howl and the storm tear apart everything around us, waiting for it to pass. Once it did, and we were able to go outside, we discovered that so many homes around us were washed away, debris from them scattered as far as you could see. Trees were down and blocking the roads, power lines dangling everywhere. Our home was spared, only suffering about 18 inches of water damage inside. Even now, it's hard to describe the mix of fear, exhaustion, and determination I felt in those hours. We were safe, we survived. In the weeks ahead, the girls and I traveled to Tampa, then up to Massachusetts, and finally back home to Biloxi. I can still see as clear as day the devastating aerial view of the coast as we flew back into Gulfport.
What's 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 up? What? Uh,
That got me. I don't know, man.
yeah, yeah, that was. I thought that was gonna be a lot easier than it was.
I know, right? So welcome to everybody. This is Altitude and Attitude, our 20th episode. Um, we're going to talk about the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, which actually made landfall tomorrow. Is the 20th anniversary. The story you heard was from a listener, Sarah, who um, who was kind enough to share her experiences during Katrina. And if I want to point out here, I want to say first thank you to Sarah for sharing that with us and for being so vulnerable on this podcast with us. Thank you so much. It means a lot. But if you look at this picture here, the I believe from what I was told that the red van in the center is actually Sarah's van, and that's like the perspective from where they were in the home that they were in during Katrina. And she lives just near you, right, Hog?
Yeah, not far. No. Yep.
Yeah. So you guys could see the kinds of damage that that this area went through.
That's down. That's the O'Keefe Museum over there.
Which one?
That's down there by 90.
The top left,
Um, right. That's right there off the water.
off the water. Yeah,
Yep, right there. That is. So I don't know which one of these did she leave. I don't know
yeah,
which one of these. I know the top two are off of 90.
yeah.
The bottom two, I'm not really sure. They could be. They
Who
could be.
knows? I mean, but look at
Yeah, I
that. I
don't
mean,
know.
just
It's
look at everything is just gone.
but even that was a place called Shark Heads. They built that back. That's
Talking about this red one down in the bottom.
yeah, the bottom left. I'm sorry, I forget. You can't see my mouse. And then the top right, that's the Coliseum.
Mm.
And there should be a picture somewhere of the President Casino sitting in their parking lot.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's I don't know what that is. I don't know. Well, that's the Treasure Bay down at the
Which one?
bottom right. Bottom right,
Bottom right.
that pirate ship. That's a casino. Or let me rephrase, that was a casino.
Right.
These are Sarah's pictures. That might be the VA. That might be the VA hospital, like the retirement home. Might be. I'm not positive.
Right. Right.
The
And
you know,
what's remind everybody, Hog, what town you guys are in.
okay, so we live in Biloxi, but there was also Gulfport, Bay St. Louis, um, uh, Ocean Springs. They basically just take the whole coast of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. Probably,
Right.
I think even Alabama was bad, but it wasn't as bad
I
because
think
that's
it
where
was the
we went.
surge.
Yeah, that's where we went to go unwind whenever we finally got to that point where we
We
could.
could actually take a look here. We've got some pictures of Hurricane Katrina as it developed. And right here, you can see that this was like 2 days before Katrina hit. You can see that it's really tiny, and that's like Category 1 type hurricane as it hits Florida.
It's barely formed.
Yeah, I mean, it's barely even there, right there. Um, and then the most telling picture, the one that gets me, and um, is this one. And this is when it was fully formed as a Category 5. You could see it takes up almost the entire Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah. Well,
Sustained
at
winds of
this
over
point,
160. Yeah.
at this point, and in this picture right here, I remember I was down. Obviously, I was in a shelter. I was in the military at the time. We were waiting on this thing to hit, and that's the point where I was like, "Oh crap!"
This is going
Because
to be a problem.
this is going to be a huge problem because it normally, for Mississippi and Louisiana, for some reason, these things always veer right or left or east or west. And this one was just like beelining straight up into us. Like we're headed straight up the Mississippi River, and
Right.
it's gonna be bad.
And this is it making landfall.
Yeah, and so right around that area where it's probably about where the SS is out in Mississippi. The
Yeah.
second one is around. If you go to the coast, is about where Biloxi's at, and that's a peninsula. And so we were getting it from both sides. It was bad. It was bad.
Right. Right. It was really bad. Well, Sarah, thank you so much again for coming on and sharing that with us. It really means a lot to us. So, in tonight's show, Stanford's not going to make it. We're going to miss you, buddy. He's out working overtime again. So, hopefully, he's able to tune in and chime in whenever he wants to. But so, we're going to have Hog, who's going to talk to us about what it was like being at Ground Zero. And we also have a special guest, my brother, who's going to be here, Chris. Chris was running tractor trailers for U.S. Express, I think it was, when he was tasked by his company to go down and run aid. So we'll welcome Chris on. Chris, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
So you worked U.S. Express as a civilian driver at the time, right?
Yeah, it was my second stint as an over the road truck driver. I had been over the road for most of the '90s, several years before, and
Mm-hmm.
got back in early 2005. And they had, of course, we'd all been watching Hurricane Katrina approaching for a good week or more during that period of time, right?
Right.
And I had gotten a load that needed to be delivered the night of, practically, that was scheduled to actually make landfall that
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night. Actually, that Monday morning, after it made landfall just north of Dallas Fort Worth in the Denton area. And so I thought, oh well, hell, I'm actually not going to be too far from the show.
Right.
And that morning, after I got unloaded and notified my dispatcher, he immediately told me to head down to Fort Worth to a FEMA distribution center to join an operation they had set up with U.S. Express to provide aid for the hurricane victims.
And how soon after the hurricane made landfall were you tasked?
It was the hurricane had hit overnight Sunday night, Monday morning, and I got unloaded that Monday morning in Denton. And right after I got unloaded, he let me know that I was going to be joining the convoy that they were setting up to run out of Fort Worth
Oh wow!
to run aid down there. That was all we knew at the time.
So it was
Uh,
almost immediate.
right, pretty much the only instructions I was given was drive here, report in at the front gate, park where they tell you, and do what they tell you.
Right.
And that was pretty much it. You know, we got there to there's a big distribution center FEMA has on the south side of Fort Worth, and they lined up a whole lot of trucks out there out in the grassy area, and we sat there for, if I remember correctly, I think we sat there for almost 3 days.
I think I have pictures. Maybe this it.
Yeah,
This
that's
look familiar.
yeah, the top one, the top left one I took, and the one right below it was at the DC there in Fort Worth.
Right.
That grassy area is where they had. You can see how many of us they had parked out there, and we all sat there for at least 2 days, motors running, just waiting to be told what to do when things were going to happen.
That's ridiculous. Good Lord, look at that.
Yeah, and a lot of us were anxious. We were all like, "Oh, this is great! We're going to be able to help out. This is going to be good stuff." And we all got out there like that morning or midday and just sat there and sat there and sat there and had no idea what was going on. And later that evening, I remember me and a few other drivers, we started walking out towards the warehouses they had out there and trying to find somebody, and we couldn't find anybody. The warehouses looked like they were completely empty.
Right.
We had no idea where you're going to haul. We eventually found somebody and asking them, "Hey, what's going to happen? When are they going to load us up? When are we going to make our way down there?" And all those guys could do was shrug and tell us, "Hey, we haven't been told anything yet. We haven't been given any instructions."
My goodness. Yeah, I mean, that must have been completely frustrating.
It was,
Because you're
yeah.
seeing everything on TV
Right,
and you're not able to really get
radio,
it.
exactly. We're getting the same feed everyone else is.
Right.
Sitting there looking at all the trucks we had there, and we're like, man, we could load up and take some pretty serious freight down that way.
Right.
And, the guys who worked there had no idea what was happening. Their bosses hadn't told them anything.
Right.
And, if I remember correctly, it was late on the second day we were out there. It was getting nightfall, and they finally started. I saw some trucks starting to move. Went out there to the warehouse where we had walked around. I noticed they were starting to load some flatbeds up with diesel generators, loading up pallets of water on some of the dry vans that were out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, they slowly started getting everybody loaded up. And it just seemed like it took forever.
Right. Well, and that was what that took a couple of days after they brought you there. But I wanted to kind of and at this point, Hog has been 2 days in the middle of the shit. So I need to. I've never really asked you about this, Hog, but I mean, what was it like on Keesler? Well, I mean, what happened during the buildup? What happened?
Okay, so it was we were told that we're going to shelter in they're the schoolhouses. They're really fortified. They're strong buildings. But we're right there we are like probably not even a mile from we're not even a few blocks from the the water coming from the front, and then we're 10 feet from the water in the back.
Right.
So we've got water coming on both sides, and we're in these things and watching these pictures that you were showing of the hurricane coming, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
it was that one picture when the news hit right there. That was where I was like, oh my god, we are screwed. And it was bad.
How long?
Obviously, go
I
ahead.
was, I was just going to ask you, how long did Kiesler take to get their shit ready? I mean, they must have gotten the air crews out of there,
Oh yeah.
and I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Flew a lot of students out because it's a tech school base. So we were flying students out and bussing them out. So we were busy before. So we were like the last ones into the shelter, probably, other than the cops and fire. Fire, I think, stayed out the whole time.
how long do you
And I
think
think
you were prepping?
of at least 2 days, at least 2 or 3 days. No,
Mm-hmm.
more than that. Probably more than that. Okay, that's uh, we're talking about 20 years ago, but I'm thinking it's several days.
Right.
We knew that it was a possibility, and every time that a hurricane is in the Gulf, you know how it was in the military, that we over prepare for it
Right.
usually. Um, the So we get all that, and we're in this shelter, and they've let families shelter in here too, which that has changed, I believe. Um, so we've got kids, everybody, all up in this shelter, and we're watching this storm come in, and we could like sometimes if went up to the second or third floor, you could like see like a little peephole through the wood or whatever. Like you really couldn't see nothing. So we had no idea what was going on, none, other than what was on the news, which cut out because we didn't have power, we didn't have anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was no news. So the last thing we heard is, "Hey, you're about to get fucked," and then that's about it. And so
And then that's what
yeah, and
happened.
then that happens, and we're all just sitting there like, well, hopefully we're all. I remember sitting in the EOC watching this this screen, hoping that something would come up, but nothing never did. And so when it's finally the next day it dissipates or whatever, and we're like, okay, but we're all hearing weird stories like this bridge is out, this bridge is out, the entire town of Ocean Springs is gone. There's this and all this other stuff, and we're like, there's no way. There's just no way. Well, unfortunately, a lot of it there was a way. Like the whole towns weren't gone, but I mean, like these bridges really were gone.
Right.
Uh, which, if you live on a peninsula, that's it's a tough thing, and I'm pretty sure your brother can attest to this. Trying to bring supplies to New Orleans when you are relying on bridges to get to a certain area, it doesn't matter what the officials need or want. There's no getting in there other than what helicopter, I guess. I mean, that'd be about it.
Did you run
Truck.
into some of that stuff, Chris, when you were down there?
Well, it actually took them a while to get the infrastructure set up so that outside, vehicles and transportation could even get into the city.
Hmm.
The initial supply runs that I made never actually made it to New Orleans. They wound up sending us to municipalities right outside, like around Lake Pontchartrain. The first load of that I took down there, which was a trailer load full of bottled water, we wound up taking to a National Guard distribution site at a shopping center near Covington, Louisiana, right on the north side of Lake Pontchartrain. And
I think I have some pictures of that.
Yeah, and they had the setup was they had cars were just streaming in there. I have no idea where everyone was coming from. I imagine they were coming from all over. Um, but they had lines of cars coming in around the parking lot in a specific order, and they were unloading trucks full of water. They were unloading MREs from trucks. They were unloading ice, and they had all that staged out there, and people were driving through with their cars, and the soldiers were loading up water, ice, and MREs for everybody, and just running them through.
Right.
That was happening there for at least the day or two that I was there.
That's pretty incredible.
I just want to like if you we but like you're just like your brother, we mostly were hauling a lot of water and ice.
The basic
People
essentials, yeah.
needed that everywhere. That was the one common denominator. Like obviously MREs, ice water. Those were the we have to haves.
Right.
And it was a lot of that. And generators, obviously generators.
It's brought generators.
All kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the ice. You could see all the ice in these pictures. It's incredible.
You got to understand like how bad it was. Like ice was so at the very beginning, it was so hard to come by that you literally were see that's my truck that's being unloaded on the left. But they were so desperate for things that like families were hurting each other over these bags of ice and water.
Right.
So that's how much, I mean, not just family, I'm just saying that it was ugly.
Desperate times.
Yeah. So we had to do these, I'm sure your brother can attest to this. We had to do these distribution points where there was an organized way that each person got what they got, because otherwise it would be like, dropping a pallet of food in Gaza right now. You know what I mean? It's like going to be just a bum rush of people. That's how it was. And they would use parking lots like I just seen there. Obviously we used the base, or I say they used the base as the marshalling yard for a lot of this stuff because it was at least it was protected and all that stuff. And then you use different churches and parking lots and different things where you could get this stuff out to the people who needed it, and not too much and not too little. It was a really tough time. It was hard to see somebody in need of something at that point in time and just not
be able to do anything about it. It's incredible,
Yeah.
And then you'd see a looter, you'd see a looter who thinks that it's pre-COVID and he needs all the toilet paper.
Well, first of all, I was doing that before COVID was cool.
Before it was cool.
But that was, so there's that. And I also, if you on the side that the doorknob's on, that's a closet. These are student dorms where we had to live. And one of my buddies went to Mobile, and I actually gave him there's probably 20 cases of Bud Light up behind that door, which I had to bring up in these the go bags. You remember them green go bags?
Yeah, I still have like 3 of them. I have 3 of them.
I do up in the attic somewhere, but I brought all that beer up there in those. And
I wanted to talk to Hog about something that I found fascinating, and I've got a little. I got some pictures here. Now, from my understanding, the reason why these uniforms, especially if you look at this gentleman up here in the top right-hand corner, he is wearing a mixed-matched uniform.
Yes. Okay, so what happened was there were people getting in trouble for wearing different uniform things. And if memory serves me correct, and if anybody that served with me at this time watches this and has a different remembrance of it, let me know. But I believe it was the wing commander. His house blew up. So he understood that everybody was we had what we had. So he authorized at that point he authorized any combination. So basically, if you had DCU pants,
Right.
black boots, and just a hat of some sort, you could do
Right.
T-shirt. There was no illegal. I mean, look at on the top left where we're pulling that forklift off. That's
DCU's right there.
yeah, that's my buddy O'Keefe, and he's he's in DCU's because he
Yeah.
was supposed to with me. He was supposed to deploy that Sunday. We all,
Right.
I was as well,
Right.
and they said no. Well, I mean, we did deploy. We just deployed to our where we were, but that deployment got canceled. But that's what he had in his go bag when he went to the
Right.
shelter. That's what he had to wear.
And then you have the guy in the bottom who's wearing his BDUs, and the guy at the top who gets me in the top right. He's got a combo of both of them. That's pretty incredible.
The guy on the bottom, this is a funny story. Number one, he doesn't know how to drive a truck. Number two, he's a meteorologist, and he was a student in weather school, and he was really cool. And he volunteered to stay while they were sending the students off. He volunteered to stay to be our lieutenant because you don't need to have a specific you don't need to be a truck driver to be you're in a management position at that
Right.
point is what I'm saying.
Right.
So he volunteered to stay behind. He could have left and went and done whatever. He stayed behind, and I can't for the life of me remember his name, but I just remember him being really cool. But he was
Right.
a lieutenant. He was the lieutenant that stuck around and he just liked us for some reason. I don't know.
Well, good for him. I mean, that says a lot. It says a lot about his character that he did that. So, how long after Katrina was gone, how long did it take you to get out of the shelters and start working?
So for me, for us, the LRS people, almost no time at all. It was almost immediate.
Mm-hmm.
We were considered mission essential. Like we need to move, do the logistics of everything. So it was immediate, pretty much.
Right.
Also the same for the cops and fire. I know for sure. There's probably some others out there. Forgive me if I forget who you are,
but you weren't like what I'm saying is you weren't like trapped. You guys could get out, no problem.
No, we were not. But however, other people were in these shelters because you weren't allowed to leave until you had authorization to leave, and then you had to be on a guided tour, and that was sad too. I had to drive one of those one time. Oh man, I forgot about that. But you just got to imagine the emotion of that. That's a church. I mean, that was one of the distribution points, if that tells you anything. That is a huge church. It's still there, right off of 90. I think it's I don't know, a Presbyterian or something like that. Anyways, that was one of the where we were dropping the forklift off was behind that building right there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, the whole we got out of there pretty quick. We all lived in our shops, which again was mind-boggling because they allowed families to shelter. So we had, like, in our shop, we're all having to live together primitive, right?
Right.
And we've got some wives and
babies.
Children, which like in babies, babies, like diaper babies.
Yeah.
And that with that, all in the same building brings tension. It's going to be contentious because you got a newborn baby and a bunch of people that aren't used to waking up to crying baby.
Right.
And they've been working for 18 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours. They need some sleep, and this, it's tension on top of tension on top of tension.
Right.
And then everybody we're sheltered with has no idea how their property fared.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right. So yeah, I understand, and I'll get into some of that as well when we talk about the blizzard, because we had the same issue during our blizzard. But I wanted to ask you, what did your yard look like?
Who, me?
You, well, yeah, you. What did the
Uh,
yard look like in
so the
LRS yard?
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm just gonna be honest here. I wanted to get rid of. In my divorce, I ended up with this crappy little Mitsubishi Outlander, and so I tried to park it where it was for sure gonna get jacked up, and everybody with the nice cars parked like where the building was gonna block the wind coming off the beach.
Right.
And nobody calculated the fact that there's gravel on top of the roof.
Oh no.
When I tell you, this is one of the funnier stories probably, but these rocks come off that roof, and every single car in the parking lot looked like a submachine gun opened up on them. It was just pelted with rocks. My car, the one that I wanted to be totaled, not a scratch, not one. It was pristine. It didn't get flooded, nothing. It didn't even, I don't think the water touched the tires just to make me happy. Nothing happened to it.
Wow. Wow.
But other than that, the whole yard looked like shit.
Where were your
Other than
vehicles?
my
Where
car.
did you put the vehicles? The trucks, the
In
buses.
hangars. Yeah, in
Oh,
hangars.
in hangars? Okay.
Yeah, we had a vehicle distribution protocol, so we had all that. Those were only personal vehicles inside of our compound, because we put, even to include cop cars, and I think the only ones that left any vehicles out would have been fire. They sheltered in place where they were, in their firehouses, and maybe a few cop cars, maybe. But I think that those cops were also sheltering in the police, if I'm not mistaken, in the fire stations,
Right.
because that's safer.
What are some of these pictures here that we're looking at? Are these on base?
This is actually, this might be off of Bayview. This is the base housing that was right on the bay, not on the water, no, not on the front. It's hard telling, Pete. I'd be a liar if I told you exactly. It was hard to tell where you were at when you were there. So I mean, and
I can imagine.
I lived there. Look, that's a bathtub right there.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah,
Probably a cast iron bathtub.
it's incredible.
I mean, it's okay. This is off of Division Street. This is like, I can't remember the name of the road, but I mean, the whole, just look at it. Everything in there, even if it's standing, it had water into it all the way up to midway of that window, at least for a minute. I think that's the Iberville where Sarah was telling us that she wrote it out at.
This next picture gets me. It's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, well, because the water's not far away. Now,
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know. I took this picture. I remember taking the picture. I do remember where it's at, but I don't know if that boat was on a trailer in the driveway. Did it float up the road? I don't know. So I don't know how that ended up that way. But yeah.
And here's another look at that casino that Sarah took a picture of.
Yep, that's the Treasure Bay. That thing got jacked.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's gone now. They just got rid of it.
Yeah, the boat. So I think all the boats are gone, unless I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong.
Even that one.
They changed the rules, and now that you could have, as long as it was connected to, they're on stilts now. They're not a boat. They're not an actual barge anymore.
Right. So I want to go back to Chris. When you said you staged. This is staging out of Texas, you said?
Right. That's where they loaded the initial group that I was in originally. It was at least a couple days, like I said, and I think we got out of there the morning of the third day.
Mm-hmm.
and they ran a whole bunch of us down there as a group, and we assumed, okay, we're going right to New Orleans. Nope, they stopped us at Alexandria at a Louisiana National Guard base, Camp Beauregard.
Right.
The shots you see of the trucks parked on concrete pad, that's where we were. They basically drove us halfway down, essentially.
Oh, so that's Beauregard there.
Right. Yeah, that's Camp Beauregard.
Okay.
The concrete pad ones, anyway. And they stopped us there because I think they were still waiting to see when they were going to get permission to actually go in. That's the impression that we got at the time. We were there only for about a day, and then they started dispatching each truck out to individual locations. Some of us went to the same location, but they really spread everybody out all around that part of the state.
Right.
And I wound up going down and passing through Baton Rouge, and I even tried, I think, to take a few pictures out the window as I was driving through, because I started noticing signs talking about no access to New Orleans. Right? They had
right.
blocking the ramps and everything like that. You couldn't even take the ramp to go down the freeway to go down that way. The group I was in wound up in Covington, like I mentioned, at a shopping center there. And that's kind of how it, from my recollection, again, like Hogg said, it's been 20 years, but that's kind of how it seemed to run for the first week or so. For those of us that were able to make multiple runs down that way, is things got staged and dropped off around the area.
Now, the picture I love is this one down here in the bottom left. I just love seeing that all those trucks lined up right there.
That was a line of trucks coming into Camp Beauregard. We got down there on the evening of the third day.
That's amazing.
And, they had all the ones lined up coming to Beauregard to park and wait to find out where we were going to go.
How many trucks do you think were there, man?
Oh,
I mean, that's a lot of trucks.
Yeah, it was like an old airstrip type of area, and they had rows of us parked up one side, down the other. I bet there were probably 5 or 6 dozen trucks out there, trucks, trailers of all shapes and sizes, dry boxes, flatbeds loaded with generators. And I even noticed they were unloading generators at that location. So, there was, I was only there for about the overnight between the third and fourth day. I was on my way that next morning. So, it was a lot of trucks through there.
But you never made it down actually in New Orleans. You kind of got right on the outskirts, and they shut you down.
Yeah, by the time I got off the project and went back to regular freight hauling, none of the groups I was in ever actually made it into the city. We wound up stopping at a lot of places like that. I mean, it makes sense. It's one of the big things that we have going for us is all these big shopping centers that we have here. They make great locations for these types of operations. So that's what I saw was most of the areas were using shopping centers like this to distribute food and water.
It's easy to cordon them off and make it orderly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and traffic in and out real easy. Yeah.
You can bring that truck in, download it, keep everything in an orderly fashion, and get them out.
They had cones all around. They made the cars go around the perimeter of these big parking lots, and come in a single file line. So
looks like this poor guy ran out of gas.
Yeah.
God.
There's no, and that's what I say. There's no telling how far out these folks came, and there was nowhere they could stop and fuel up.
Right.
There may have been a lot of these folks that thought, hey, we'll get past it in a day or so, and yeah.
To basically add on to what Chris was just talking about, you've got to remember there was no ATMs, there was no anything, no access to cash, there was you couldn't use your card. So this was the part that it was insane, is that you could have had the richest person on the coast and the poorest person on the coast. And they were in the same line, in the same
Yeah.
boat,
Because
paddling up
everything
the
looked like
same
this.
river.
Because everything looked like this.
Exactly. Nothing, there was nothing special about anybody. We were all paddling the same canoe. Some of us had different jobs, like me and your brother. We were able to, we were allowed to, I was allowed to drive around the devastation and stuff because we had to.
Right.
But most people weren't even allowed down where I was at
Yeah.
because these were people's final belongings that they might have that are on the beach.
Yeah.
Like this person's, like look at where that tub is. That's probably like a cast iron tub from the 1950s.
Yeah.
And that's a tub. Imagine all of their pictures and their whatnots
Yeah.
just they're off somewhere. So with the looting and because you're always gonna have assholes. There we there were only certain people that were allowed to be down there. If
Mhm.
you weren't one of the people that were supposed to be down there, you were getting arrested. It was going to happen. And if you looted, you were gonna get arrested. They were on
Right.
that. They
Oh,
were
yeah,
on it.
that was one of the big scandals from that whole thing, right? There was a ton of misinformation, especially in New Orleans. Reports of lootings and rapes and murders and all that happening. And, you find out 20 years later from the people on the ground, it was all bullshit. It was all
Right.
bullshit. It was
Right.
ramped up. The media was as complicit in it as anybody else was because
Absolutely.
more dramatic. And it's just sad. You hear about this stuff all these years later, and it just makes it even worse than it was at the time.
Oh,
Hog.
but what
So
sucks is that you get one situation where that might have happened, and then it gets pumped up into like it's happening to everybody.
yeah, it blows
Yeah.
up. It
Because I'm
gets
not
out
saying
of
that.
control like wildfire.
Yeah, it's like it's not that it didn't happen to nobody. It probably did happen to somebody, the
Right.
person. But then the media does what the media does and blows it into this whole like everybody
Yep.
situation.
Let me ask you a question, Hog. Um were you doing these relief runs or whatever you called them on base, or were you moving stuff off base as well?
Okay, so almost 100% of what we did was off base.
Off. Okay.
But we our marshalling yard was on base. I want to tell you a story about this picture on the left, the water flatbed. See that gentleman that is undoing the
Yeah.
no, yeah, him. That gentleman that is undoing that red truck behind him. They came from a completely different state. There's about 4 or 5 of them. They're not in this picture, but they were all together and they just were running around and finding people they could help. And we brought this. Obviously, we're trying to be in and out and in and out. And they were like, "Can we help with anything? Just anything?" And we're like, "You can help us pull these straps off and wrap them up. Let me show you how to do it." They did. These dudes freaking
Wow.
jumped out of the truck, just start working. And
Wow.
we get these bottles of water off. They wanted to know where we were at the next time. We didn't know, so they just went off and went to find somebody else who needed help with something. That is America.
Yeah. That's what we
I
fought.
mean that
Yeah.
that's
And I want to kind of talk about that in this picture again and the looting. I saw a documentary not long ago where they discussed the looting, and what was the general's name again, guys? Henri?
Honore.
yeah, Honore,
He's
Henri?
Honore in New Orleans.
our
You're
army.
talking about New Orleans now, right?
Yeah,
Honore.
and he was talking about the looting, and he said, "Yeah, there was looting." He said because people didn't have food, they didn't have water. He
Yeah.
said,
Yes.
they're not out there looting televisions and
Yeah.
stereos. He said they're taking water, they're taking canned foods, and that's what they're taking. He said, so yeah, there was looting. So imagine this is your house.
Yeah.
Imagine that your tub got thrown that far out,
Yep.
right? You have
Yep.
nothing. and nobody's bringing you anything, desperate times, desperate measures.
So I gotta say this one thing real quick, and I don't is that when I say looting, I mean people's personal property.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about going into Walmart and stealing some water. That was a common thing. I don't think a lot of people got arrested for that. That's not what I'm talking about. But that stuff on the beach where I was talking about is their personal belongings that are out there. So you got people, certain people, if we would have let them down there, well, even when they did get down there anyways, uh, that were taking people's personal property. That is different. That to me is looting. If you're getting water or food, I'm sorry that I don't count that in the same category.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't count, especially in a disaster such as Katrina. And I have some stuff here for those that might not know exactly how bad Katrina was. So Katrina was not the worst storm we ever had. I believe the worst storm we ever had hit Galveston in 1900. I can't remember the name of the storm, but I remember seeing something about that.
Yeah.
But this one is tied as one of the costliest storms ever.
Was
At
Andrew the other?
the other one was Harvey.
Oh,
Harvey was, and it's
yeah, up that yeah.
He's-
125 billion dollars. This storm cost the United States. It also is responsible for, and this is as of 2023, 1,392 deaths. Over 600 people are still missing today.
Yeah.
Today, they're still missing. I believe I saw a stat that said that the Mississippi-Alabama border, right there, I think Hogg hit on it earlier, is where the storm surge was the worst. And it has a storm surge recorded of over 20 feet, which is the highest ever recorded in the United States. A year after Hurricane Katrina was gone and the cleanup was still in progress, almost 200,000 people still had not made it back to New Orleans.
Yeah, a lot of people wound up moving out of Louisiana altogether.
Yeah.
The years after Katrina, I remember meeting a lot of people who had moved to Arkansas permanently because things had gotten so bad and the political leadership had failed them so horribly down there. A lot of them, when they got bussed out and flown out of there to all points on the map, a lot of them wound up just never returning.
Right.
I met a lot of them in
I
Arkansas.
think a lot moved to Texas as well.
Yeah,
Those
I think
poor
they
people.
were going out to all points: Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, Chicago.
Somewhere north.
Northern Mississippi.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that going on. And I mean, if you go down there now, obviously it's rebuilt. It's fine now, but
Mhm.
you will still find parking lots that used to be apartments.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
apartments that still are, not all the way repaired, or maybe the owner just decided they didn't want to do anything with it. I don't know. But you will still see the remnants down there of that. And probably around here too. Actually, for sure around here too. There's vacant lots where there wasn't vacant lots
Yeah.
before.
Sorry,
But
words.
another thing, the intensity of the storm, like Pete was talking about, being from 1900. Did you say, Pete?
1900 was the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the difference between the storms, other than monetary, is that back when I was a kid, Biloxi, Gulfport, Ocean Springs, basically all these were different cities. Like you left one city and you went to another one if you were riding down night. Well, because of population, there's a lot more to destroy now. Because back when Camille hit, we're talking about half of the crap that it hit was just woods.
Right.
There was nobody living there.
Right.
There is no such thing as woods down here anymore. It's all populated.
Right.
It's all populated. So when you get that from 60, when was Camille? 1964, I think. Anyways, in that time frame to 2005, we're talking about a lot of casinos were legalized in that time frame. Like, do you know how many people come after a casino's freaking legalized? Like, there's work there, that people are coming to work, they're coming to gamble, they're coming to be a tourist. The whole dynamic is different.
Right.
So monetarily, that has a lot to do with the reason why it's so expensive.
Right.
Because it's so much more populated.
And one thing that we discussed before we went on air today is we're not going to make this a political thing, but one of the issues that Katrina did show was, how do I say it without getting, was a failure in leadership.
It was.
There was a massive failure in leadership, and how about we make a deal, Hog? Next week we'll make it political. How about that? We'll make it political next week because there's a lot to talk about.
You know I'm in.
But you know what, Hog? I was just looking at this hurricane, and I got to tell you something. This thing was bad. It was a major Cat 4. It was almost a Category 5 when it hit Galveston. It killed between 6,000 and 12,000 people.
Damn. We're talking about the 1900s?
No, it was 1900. Oh, yeah, 1900. So,
I think they got warning about it like a day or two out. And there was no thing as building for those sorts of storms back then. So, yeah,
right.
But there was no code back then. There was no evacuation, like Chris said. There's no evacuation notice. You got 1 day to prepare. Because I'm going to tell you right now, had it not been for the way that technology went, I was in the islands the day before Katrina hit. I was out at the islands. It was beautiful out.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you didn't have the news saying everybody should panic, we were on a boat out at the islands.
You'd have been killed. Yeah.
You could have easily camped out there. Like, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Because that storm's sucking everything in.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that all hell's about to freak if you didn't have meteorologists out there telling you that, hey, it doesn't matter how pretty it is today, it's gonna get really bad. So
yeah.
I could see how in the 1900s it would be, again, that goes to my point of it's different. It's different now than it was back then, whether
absolutely, yeah,
population in the area or codes.
But for those of you that want to do a deep dive on Katrina, what will blow you away is, even though what Hog is saying is true, if they had actually built up New Orleans the way they should have, it wouldn't have happened the way it did. But you got to look it up. You got to look at it.
There's a really, really good documentary on Hulu right now that talks about all of that. It's called Race Against Time.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's really good. They talk about how they had a big hurricane that hit New Orleans in the 60s. I think it was Betsy, and it caused dike failures out there. And they had a whole building project where they were supposed to build up those dikes again. Mm-hmm. And they politicized it. They didn't build them up right. And the people who were building them at the time told them this is not going to work. And sure enough, 2005 happens again.
Katrina, yeah.
So yeah, it's really good if you're interested in deep diving, like you said, on this.
Yeah, it was a good documentary. I think that's the one I watched.
Was. Yeah.
I would say also, if you want to dive even deeper than that, New Orleans should have never been a city because it's in a bowl, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it the pirates that started it, like back in the way back Like they were having to build, because you're talking about like this is
Yeah.
it's funny, but they were having to build. They basically wanted to build a city where you shouldn't build a city to keep people away from them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you really
Yeah.
get that deep down into it,
Yeah, the whole
they are
ecosystem
feeling.
changed, and they built up the city, and now there's they even talked about that in the documentary, how a lot of the wetlands that normally absorbed the storm surges and everything that come from these storms are all mostly gone now. So now when these storms hit, they're like 10 times worse than they used to be 200 years ago.
Well, even here, like for Katrina, the barrier islands out there had been split by Camille.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now, if we get hit again, guess what? There's even less of those barrier islands, because Katrina took out when I took the boat out to I don't have one now, but I did at the time. When I took the boat out to Ship Island, I didn't recognize it. I thought I was at Ship Island, but I was on a part of it. But they called it the Camille Cut back then. It used to be, not that big.
Yeah.
Well, now it's called the I guess, I don't know, maybe we call it the Katrina Cut. I don't know, but it's huge.
Yeah.
I bogged the damn boat in because it was like not even deep. It's like the island just melted out.
Let me ask you guys this one, and I don't know, we might all have different figures here because I don't know if it was ever figured out, but how many people? I heard 24,000 were in the stadium. How many
man.
do you guys remember the stadium? How many were in it?
The Superdome.
The Superdome? Yeah.
I
I
don't know
think
how many were
I
in
don't
it.
remember the numbers.
Off the top of my head, no.
Yeah. Initially, it was you had the group of people that stayed there that night when the storm passed through, and then over the next 3 or 4 days, the rest of the city funneled into there.
Yeah.
It just became a sea of people, and apparently it got really bad and nasty there.
The bathrooms
It was just,
went out. The electricity was out. No food, no water. And they're inside that giant stadium, and it just
yeah, parts of the roof failed. I believe I heard that they had been telling them that the architecture, the stadium wasn't built to withstand those kind of storms, and yet they funneled everybody in there anyway, and wondered why suddenly rain was coming through the roof because the roof started to fail.
Right.
It was 20,000 people.
20,000.
Man,
that sheltered inside the Louisiana Center. Now the Caesars Superdome. Yep.
You hear that number, but to actually be in a crowd that big.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
With no ball game going on.
And that's the most that ever has been there. Because, I mean, who cares about the Saints?
Yeah, because they but they were also, like, I believe they were even at the beginning, they were supposed to be using the field area too, but that flooded. So everybody had to move up into the stands. So it probably was a lot like being at a Saints game, but everybody's angry, stinky, and has no food or water.
Yeah.
Right.
If you can imagine how
it may have reached a point where they had no idea how many ultimately wound up.
Well, I mean, let's look at here. Some of our people in chat. She's getting 30.
Yeah.
And this one's getting 40.
Yeah, I think everyone's probably right.
None of us are probably wrong, because at one point, and that like Pete or one of y'all was just saying a minute ago, at one point, that's what it started out at, and then nobody really knows. You weren't turning people away.
Yeah. It just exploded from there.
I got my grandma in a wheelchair.
And I think the whole city wound up gathering at the Superdome and at the
Coliseum, the convention center,
right down the road from there. And it's and the pictures, the video, it's just, I watched that documentary. It was really good, but man, it's sad. And
I remember seeing all those pictures
at some points.
I'll never forget the picture of the person that had the sheet, and I watched it on the news with that sheet on top of the roof that said "Save us."
Yep.
And I was like, I mean, just seeing that just, breaks your heart again to see it.
It's a hotel now, but back then it was an apartment, I believe. And there was a picture, and it was basically the same thing, but it just said like mom were alive or something. Like,
Yeah.
it was.
People riding on
There
the
was
roofs
so
and
many-
ceilings. Yeah.
I just remember when we were bringing water and going down this road that was headed to the hospital. And this was one of the harder times for me. And we're headed down the hospital, headed to the hospital. What's wrong?
My lights just turned on. God
Oh,
said there should be
let there be
light.
light.
Yeah.
But I'm headed to the hospital in this, and I always kept a case of water in the truck so I could throw it out if I seen. But there's this old man like trying to just push his wife to the freaking hospital.
Mm.
Who knows how long this old man had been pushing this woman, and he had no business pushing her. And unfortunately, you couldn't stop, because if you stopped, everybody was trying to get what you had on your trailer. You had to get to one of them distribution spots. So I just remember, like, I was throwing water out like it was like fucking like Mardi Gras beads or something, and
Right.
I just felt, and I just felt like I should like pull over, let that dude drive the truck, and I'll push his wife the rest of the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Because who knows? I know that the stretch of road that we were on, he had to have gone a couple. I don't know, because you had the base on one side, and then basically I don't know how far he went, but more than likely a couple of miles.
Right.
And like you're to the point where if I don't get to the hospital, my wife's gonna die. Well, what if you get to the hospital and they don't have no more room?
Right.
What
That
are you gonna
probably
do?
happened. That probably
Like,
happened.
so in your head you're thinking, and I know all this, and that was one of them times where, in fact, it was right. In fact, I think it was right when about the time during that church thing where you were seeing people pull the stuff out of the back, and when I was headed to there, because that would have been on the way to that. And I just remember, like, that was one of the times where, not this one, the one on the street downtown. But anyways, you're not gonna know it. Doesn't matter. That one right there. So it was
I'm
probably
not
when
going to know it.
but it was really, it was one of them times where you just like kind of, when you finally get to pull over, you just like cry like a little bitch, and like, and
How can this be happening here?
yeah, this is my home.
Yeah.
That was another thing that was hard for me, is it wasn't just, we've dealt with deployments, Pete. Me and you we have.
Yeah.
And deployments are easier because it's not your home. It's
Mhm.
not your country. It's not your state. It's not your hometown. It was all of that to me. And
Yeah.
it was all of that to everybody, a lot of the people that I was working with. This was not only our home, these are our people.
Yeah.
Whether that be American
The neighbors.
people or
Neighbors, friends, family. Yep.
and it didn't matter whether I agreed with them or disagreed with them, whether we
Oh, yeah.
loved each other, hated. We're all in the same, like I told earlier, with the rich and the poor in the same freaking aisle.
Human
It
beings.
doesn't matter. We are humans in the same canoe, paddling up the same stream. Let's get it done.
Mhm.
Right.
And we really need more of that. I hate that it takes a storm to get us to that point,
Yeah.
because it didn't take us long to separate back into our corners. But during that time, it was quite amazing to see how, just like that dude that I told you was just pulled up and was like, "Hey, we're here to help."
Yeah.
Who knows what state he was from? Could
Yeah.
have been from Arkansas. Could have been from Texas.
Don't know
could have
where. Don't know who he
No,
voted
no,
for.
no,
Don't
no, no,
know.
no.
Yeah.
He
No one
was
cared.
willing to help, and we needed the help.
Yeah.
Let's get it. And
Absolutely.
like I said, then that is America. That
Yeah.
is
That is.
what
Yeah.
we put that uniform on for. That's why we did it.
Yeah.
Because that's, as a people, that's who we are. I refuse to think otherwise.
Right.
We are good people as a collective, for
Right.
the most part. I'm not going to bring this political stuff.
Don't make me tell you. Don't make me tell you.
But next week it's on.
Next week it's on. Next week, guys, should be really fun because we have held back a lot. So we're kind of like a hot air balloon, or I'm sorry, a balloon filled with helium, and we're ready to fucking pop. So
The hot air.
Hot air. Hey,
hot air, I think, is more fitting. Yeah, stick with that.
Hot air. All right. It's the last time you're on my show, you dick. So I want to say thank you to Chris for being on, spending all this time with us, and Sarah for coming on and sharing that wonderful story with us. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Chris, what was the name of that documentary again? Do you remember?
Hurricane Katrina, Race Against Time.
Something like that, guys. I believe it's on.
It's on Hulu.
Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah, Race Against Time. It's
check
the
it
only
out.
one really that's on there. Yeah.
Yeah, check it out. It's really good. A deep dive on it. They'll get into the things that we couldn't get into or did not want to get into.
It'll get you right here.
Yeah, it'll get you.
I haven't watched one. I haven't watched one yet. I still haven't watched one yet.
Well,
it's a 5-part miniseries, is what it is.
And you'll get flashbacks, brother. You'll get flashbacks. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. We appreciate all of you being here. Chris, Sarah, Hog, thank you so much, guys. And remember, if you're not pissed off, you're not listening. 2, 3.